off-road adventure is proudly brought to you by Bridgestone, passion for excellence. Welcome to the second round of the 2010 Bridgestone Fundi Challenge, the competition where average Joe 4x4s are pitted against each other in a variety of mild to wild tests. Adding some international flavour to the competition, this round of the Fundi Challenge forms part of the annual Swaziland Regularity Raid, or Reg Raid. The two-day-long event, covering a total of nearly 300 kilometres, is organised by the Swaziland branch of the Four-Wheel Drive Club of South Africa. And it's renowned for dishing up a few surprises along the way. 30 Bridgestone Fundi competitors made their way to Swaziland for this competition, which also comes with its own set of unique challenges. Where the first round of the challenge revolved around 10 clearly defined obstacles and focused mostly on driving skill, the Reg Raid is primarily all about time. Teams have to drive a set route according to a strict timing schedule, constantly working out average speeds, estimated times of arrival, and so on. Hidden marshals may record the actual times the crews drive past their post, and the crews also have to clock in at normal marshal points, where their arrival times are recorded. The crew who sticks closest to the prescribed times wins. But this wouldn't be a 4x4 challenge without some 4x4 challenges, of course. So on the actual routes, the competitors will have to conquer a variety of off-road obstacles, get stuck, and valuable time is lost. Get held up behind another 4x4 that is stuck, and time will be lost. With some demanding 4x4 driving in the mix, the Reg Raid becomes a very tricky business indeed. But it is part of the Swazi event's allure, a regularity event, but one with more twists than a soap opera. After scrutineering, where all the vehicles were checked according to set safety rules, some administration work, and a little bit of a kuier, just to acclimatise to Swaziland, the crews and their families tucked in. And that was a good thing, because the next day would turn out to be one they wouldn't forget in a hurry. A total of 64 entries hailing from all over Southern Africa lined up for the early morning start from the club's premises. Vehicles started at 2-minute intervals, and ahead of them lay more than 150 kilometres of tar, dirt, and 4x4. Crews are allowed to use all the technology at their disposal, so laptops with time and distance calculation software, specialized odometers, as well as GPS navigation systems are allowed. But you can be sure the organizers worked in a couple of surprises along the way to counter the impact of the technology. It's 6 o'clock and time to get the 2010 Swazi Reg Raid underway. The Swazi Reg Raid route snakes its way through some of the Mountain Kingdom's spectacular Ezulwini Valley area. It is not only pretty, but also very tricky, even though the going isn't remotely 4x4 yet. Navigators have to keep track of the route, speed, and distance on the narrow mountain tracks. Drive too slow, and you lose time that needs to be made up again. Drive too fast, and the crews will be ahead of their ideal time, losing points if there is a hidden marshal along the route. And with the organisers throwing a few curveballs into the route schedule, well, let's just say that it is not exactly a Sunday drive in the game park. Meanwhile, trouble was brewing. In the week prior to the Swazi Reg Raid, heavy rain saw to it that the earth was saturated. Now it started to rain again, and the nice and solid gravel and dirt almost immediately turned into a slippery quagmire. The writing was on the wall. This was going to be one long day. This is a Toyota Land Cruiser Bucky, and as far as 4x4 ability goes, this is about as good as it gets. The Cruiser tackles the actual route through this river, and it ain't going anywhere, so crews started looking for alternative routes through this section. This is Thijs Botma and Charles de Prier in their Ford Ranger TDI, tackling one of the alternative routes. With a good helping of pure brute force, the Ford hops and skips over and out of the obstacle. This Toyota Hilux's crew members are local competitors, so they should know the tricks of the Swazi trade. Let's watch as they demonstrate. Okay, so that took a bit longer than we thought it would. But again, it looked like the obstacle was not ideal for drivers who are of the mechanically sympathetic variety. But kudos to this team, they made it through. This is Johan Blanche and Marlene Muller in their Isuzu KB 300.
Right, okay.
They decided to tackle the big one. Not surprisingly, the Isuzu bogged down in the slippery sludge, but considering the other options, this was probably still the fastest way through. With a fleet of Land Rovers winching the 4x4s to higher, less slippery ground, the surface is real slippery though. At least Marlene provided some moral support. This is Grant and Corrine Keenan in their very spiffy Toyota Fortuner V6. They also tackled the meeker-looking river crossing, but it is still one heck of an obstacle, as other competitors try to assist. Eventually, the Keenans decide that a helping hand is in order, rather than damage, and they rope in the help of Charles Pierce in a Land Cruiser 18. And out she goes.
Is lekker nat en lekker veel.
After the break, Hendrik Potgieter and Jacco Brits tackle the slippery obstacle in their Jeep Wrangler. The event takes a turn for the worse, and we meet the LaRue brothers. The Swaziland Regularity Raid, which also hosts round 2 of the 2010 Bridgestone Fundi Challenge, the wheels are nearly coming off, as rain keeps falling, turning dirt into a slippery sludge. And remember, this event is all about time, and sticking to prescribed time schedules. Competitors that lose time here will incur penalty points, but conditions were going from bad to worse. This Land Rover Defender and Land Cruiser 70 have been at it for almost an hour already, after the Cruiser took an ambitious alternative route and got very stuck. It doesn't look as if that Cruiser will ever get out of this fix. Back at the route that seems to be the easiest of the three, Hendrik Potgieter and Jacco Brits patiently await their turn. At the first round of the competition, the pair showed that they were not scared to take risks. Would it be more of the same here? The Jeep Wrangler slips down the steep embankment and... they make it look much easier than it is. The big and powerful V8 Range Rover of Willie van Rooyen and Gerda Pretorius is up next. The burly Range Rover also makes it look like a walk in the park, which it certainly wasn't. As the 4x4s slowly navigated their way through the slippery mud, on their way to the first Marshall point, the rain persisted. But even the embattled Landy and the cruiser eventually made it through. But then the Marshall's two-way radio brings bad news, or maybe good news, considering the treacherous conditions.
Die reis is gekanselleer, vir vandag. Die dag is gekanselleer. En hulle moet asseblief wag dat hulle in groepies teruggaan na die klaphuis toe. Asseblief, verstaan jy?
Okay, ek het so verstaan, so die competitors moet hier so wag, sodat hulle groepe kan vorm om terug te gaan klaphuis toe. Die reis is gekanselleer vir die dag.
Dis 'n positief nuus.
Jan Burger, Chief Marshal, explains what happened.
Basically, the rain came up this morning and we tried our best, but the route is in such a condition that we can't really go any further. Up to this point, we battled, some guys got through, but up ahead is also a couple of obstacles that due to the rain, impossible to get through. So unfortunately, we'll have to turn around for today and try tomorrow again.
Back at the clubhouse, the mood was surprisingly jovial as competitors swapped stories about their day's adventures in the mud. Everyone had a story to tell.
We landed up in a river trying to take an alternative route, and it didn't work out for us, so we spent a bit too long there.
Het was nie die motor geweest nie.
Leading Bridgestone Fundi competitor Saki Kutsia sums up the day's proceedings.
Jong, ja, dat was vet pret geweest. Die natte het natuurlijk een hele nieuwe dimensie gegeven. Baie glibberig, ouens het vastgezet. Een paar mannen wat, sien nou, kyk hoe die rijd werkt. Die rijd in tijd secondes tel. Strafpunt vir elke 6 secondes. So as jy agter in die queue staan, daar staan 8 ouens in 'n obstacle wat vaszit. Dan spring jy uit en jy gly maar in die modder rond en jy help.
Later that evening, Jan Burger gave the competitors the news. Times had been recorded at a hidden Marshall point before the day's action was cancelled. These recorded times would serve as the results for the first day. But the best news was that the Reg Raid second day had received the green light. The route was situated in a drier, less muddy area. The game was officially back on. And so, day 2 of the Swaziland Reg Raid got underway, with the rain deciding to take a holiday too. Ahead of the cruise lay another 150 kilometers of tar, gravel and 4x4, and hopefully very little mud. It's now also time to introduce you to two brothers who we'll be taking a ride with. It's Alex and Rian Leroux driving a Toyota Land Cruiser 70. We'll join the Leroux brothers again shortly to see how they're doing. Meanwhile, on the route, a bit of a traffic jam was on the go, and it looked like peak hour traffic in Josie as the 4x4s rumbled past. These crews all started at 2-minute intervals, so some of these vehicles were behind their ideal time and some ahead. And they haven't even come across the first 4x4 obstacles yet. As the 4x4s made their way through the beautiful Swaziland landscape, navigators and drivers were constantly busy calculating average speeds and distances. Even with modern aids such as GPS and special software on laptop computers, this is not as easy as it sounds. And in between all this, the crews must still navigate themselves, sticking to the sometimes not so easy to find routes. A case in point, the Leroux brothers.
Kyk uit vir 'n BP garage aan die linkerkant.
Yes, Alex, ek het 'n van die vier.
BP garage 7.4 km vorentoe. Moet ek reguit gaan of draai?
Ek dink gaan eers
Dis nie 'n BP garage. So kom ons vertrou ons gut feel en kom ons gaan reguit aan.
Dis seker is 'n BP garage op daai kaart.
Hier staan BP garage. Nee, ons moes verkeerd gedraai het. Ek weet net nie hoe op aarde nie en waar nie. Ja, Alex, ek weet nie waar ons is nie. Kyk net so. Gaan net scan net deur vir BP.
Spel again.
Hier sê BP garage. So kom ons gaan BP garage.
After the break, the going gets more wet, then a little more tricky, and then a lot more tricky. We're back in Swaziland on day 2 of the tough regularity raid. Although the rain decided to stay away, there was still a lot of water around in certain areas. Good thing it wasn't the slippery sludge the crews had battled the previous day. This is Thijs Botma, Charles de Prier and passengers in a Ford 2.5 TDI. And they're obviously not scared to make a splash. But let's go and see what the LaRue brothers are up to. At least they're on the right track again, but it seems they've reverted to strange languages.
That power poles. Ons gaan na benede die elektrische kabels, hè. Jou gemiddelde spoed is prima. Prima.
And so the kilometers rolled past, as the competitors slowly but surely made their way through the Swazi kingdom. It seemed as if all the previous day's hardships were but a distant memory. But it's never over until it's over, and a spanner is never too far from being thrown into the works. This is John and Desiree Fuller driving a shorty Mercedes Galanderwagen, and they were heading for the last twist in the Swazi tail, which their Merc would dispatch without much ado. The Mitsubishi Pajero powers it through the slippery mud. But the local Toyota Hilux, which wasn't fitted with mud terrain tyres, doesn't make it through. It eventually gets a tow from a cunningly positioned Land Rover. With a new differential lock fitted to the big Nissan Patrol, following their mishap in the competition's first event, Wimpy Olivier and Johan Kukumur tackle this obstacle with gusto, and the powerful Patrol makes it through. Swapping their Land Rover Defender V8 for a stock standard Isuzu KB300 TDI for this event, Hannes Janssen van Rensburg and William Evan Smith's team effort also sees them make light work of this deceptive slope. The Corando doesn't make it and takes a tow. The Jeep Rubicon makes it all look rather easy. The Land Cruiser Bakkie needs a second attempt, but makes it stick. Johann Marx and Johann Bischoff, driving one of those super-duper Merc Gelandewagens, also make it look way too easy. The Toyota Hilux, with the addition of a few cement blocks in the back, goes over. Gareth Vermaak and Neville Black in a Mazda Drifter take the more speedy approach, and they make it through. Frontrunners Kai and Mandy Vogel driving a Mitsubishi Pajero. Eish! The Pajero almost ended up going for a swim. Luckily, the cunningly positioned Landy Defender was on hand to save the day. The Funner Mervers in a Toyota Prado almost went the same route.
Robot.
And yep, you've seen it here for the first time, a Land Rover Defender towing a Toyota Land Cruiser Prado out of a fix. When he's not building roads around Johannesburg, Bridgestone SA's Herman du Plessis likes to 4x4. The Hilux makes it over, as does the big Land Cruiser 100, then the 80, and finally the Nissan Patrol. After that muddy ditch, it was plain sailing to the finishing line. And with plain sailing, we kind of mean, well, plain sailing. The crews had to navigate themselves through a riverbed, with some water making it interesting in places. Here, Johan Westrad and Hannes Zierman are making waves. Then it was a beautiful forest section. And finally, the finishing line. Now, all that was left was to tally up times. And the winners are...
Okay, third place for Swaziland, Johan Marx and Johan Bischoff. Congratulations. Baie geluk.
Dankie.
Baie mooi gery. What's that? Okay, second place for Swaziland, and the lady that showed us how to drive in Swaziland in this wet weather. Day one where they stopped it, and day two, she really showed some men how to handle the equipment. Marlene Miller and Johan. Our first place winner for Swaziland. They drove extremely well. They're also receiving one of the Nuvi 500 GPS's with the cryptic clue on for the night event, Saki Kutsia and Marius Bonthuis. Congratulations. Baie mooi.
Nou kan ek jou so lê. Ek sien jou reg. Ja, jy sal kan.
Now the question beckons. With Saki Kutsia taking top honours in the Swazi regularity raid, will defending champion Andre de Villiers, who did not compete here, have the firepower to fight back at the next event in Lichtenberg? We'll soon find out. Till then.
het 'n skoon onderbroek nodig. Solank jy verstaan ek is geheel en al in beheer. Ek weet presies wat aangaan.
Bruce Leroux.
Hallo.
Bruce Leroux.
Leroux broer.
Ontken dit camera.
This off-road adventure is proudly brought to you by Bridgestone, passion for excellence.